Hi, I'm Plandiss, well-known action RPG lover and turn-based hater. And I have never played a Final Fantasy title. However, upon seeing the level of love and admiration that many games in this franchise hold, I felt that there was something special that I had yet to see myself. So, I made it my goal to play and review all of the Final Fantasy titles to see why people love this franchise so damn much. Some important notes for this series. Firstly, I will be covering all mainline entries excluding MMOs. I hate MMOs more than I hate turn-based RPGs. Secondly, for the sub-franchises of compilation of FF7 as well as the Fabula Nova Crystallis, I will be covering all games in said sub-franchises. This includes Crisis Core, Type 0, and many more. Lastly, I will be going over everything I can with these games. Gameplay, story, soundtracks, you name it, spoils be damned. So, if you are afraid of spoilers, turn back now, because this is your last chance. Final Fantasy was released in December 1987 for the NES, directed by Hironobu Sakaguchi, with Nobuo Uematsu composing the soundtrack. And that's all you get for a history lesson. For the sake of this review, I will be playing the Pixel Remaster on PC with modified fonts. Immediately, FF1 sets itself apart from the rest by allowing you to construct your own party out of 6 classes: Warrior, Thief, Monk, White Mage, Black Mage, and Red Mage. Each class has its own abilities, pros and cons, equipment they can use, etc. As I am playing through these titles as blind as possible, I didn't know totally who did what, except that White Mage can heal and Black Mage can burn the universe. My party setup was a Warrior, Thief, White Mage, and Black Mage. An elite squad of gamers assembled at my Twitch stream, where I will be streaming the rest of the FF titles in the future. A cutscene plays, that wasn't in the original game, and we are dropped into the world with no clue as to where to go. Do I go to the forest and kill dudes? Do I go into the castle? The town, maybe? This is where the first really cool part of FF1 starts. You may not have any idea where you're going, but a solid idea is always going around the local town and talking to all the NPCs. Heading on into the castle, a guard says that the king needs to see our gamer squad. Cool. Talking to the king, he says that we are the Warriors of Light, and gives us a quick rundown on what's going on. Basically, darkness, darkness, light, collect the doohickeys, light prevails, save my daughter! A pretty stereotypical fantasy story, but now with a goal in mind, we head out into the wild. As we are walking, jump scare! The staple of most of the Final Fantasy franchise, random encounters. After noting the banger that is the battle theme, we get introduced to the battle system of Final Fantasy I. It's completely turn-based, with some basic commands you can give your party: attack, magic, item, defend, and flee. Defend is useless, so don't bother using it. I don't even think it does anything helpful. Flee is useful if you don't want to fight enemies, but most of the time, it fails, so you might as well fight. Attack is obvious, and so are magic and item, except, what the hell? Where are my spells? As it turns out, you start FF1 with just about nothing. Not even spells. In fact, you have to buy the spells from towns. This system poses 2 issues. Firstly, if you don't have enough money to get an important spell, you will have to grind to get it. Secondly, leveling up your mages does not give them spells, meaning that it's pretty hard to feel the progression with these guys. What you do get for leveling is spell casts, however. Each tier of magic has a certain amount of casts that you can use until that tier is unusable. I actually quite like this system, as the traditional MP bar could be frustrating in a game like this. After a little bit of work and frustration, our party has some spells, some swords, and has arrived at the Chaos Shrine to save the king's daughter. Inside, you find Garland, a once renowned knight of Cornelia, turned evil for some reason? It isn't really explained. He goes down hella easy, even at your piss low level, and thus, the princess is saved. We bring her back to the king, who in turn repairs the bridge leading to the rest of the world. Before we go, however, he tells us to restore the light to the 4 crystals, aka the doohickeys, while we travel the world. The party heads for the bridge, and thus, the prologue to FF1 concludes. The true start of the adventure begins now! After crossing the bridge, we get a huge world to explore. Meanwhile, the enemies gotta level up, meaning if you aren't ready, you might just get plowed. The first place to go is the next town of Provoca, where the townsfolk will ask you to politely get rid of some local pirates. After dealing with them in the nicest way possible, they gift you a boat. With this boat, you can travel the seas, or at least the small ocean you are currently trapped in. You see, for as huge the world is, it's fairly linear in nature. Can't go here till you've been here and done this, etc. But I digress. Taking the boat, the party heads towards the next town, Elfheim. Here, the people say that their prince has fallen into a deep slumber for years, and you brave warriors must wake him up. Unfortunately for us, we can't just slap him until he wakes up. We have to go get an item to do so. Okay, so let's go get the item. Where to then? Well, I don't know. None of the townsfolk are saying anything, so to be honest, I'm a bit lost. Well, it is an adventure game, so let's explore. Oh wait, the enemies just kill me? Huh. That's a bit odd. Thought I was at the right point in the game, but oh well. I'm sure it's fine. As it turns out, we have to go to our first dungeon in the game, the Marsh Cave. The enemies here aren't too bad, but if you don't have antidotes, you might see your party fall pretty ill pretty quick. With 3 floors, it can easily turn out poorly if you didn't plan ahead or if you are underleveled. Especially floor 3, which has 16 different rooms you could check to find the item you need. By the way, the item is column 2, row 3. We get a crown! What is this for? I doubt a crown would wake up the prince. I'm sure it's fine. After the Marsh Cave, the party heads towards the Western Keep. Inside lies a kingly figure with a glass eye, but it turns out he was a demon man. We strike him down, acquiring the glass eye he had. But again, this also won't wake up the prince. So what do we do? Well, we head all the way to Matoya's cave, a place that if you were like me, you might have missed while we were near Cornelia. Inside this cave, we find Matoya, an old witch who apparently lost her glass eye. Giving her the eye we need, she's happy and rewards us with a Jolt Tonic, which is exactly what the prince needs. We head all the way back to the prince, give him the Jolt Tonic, and wake him the hell up. In return, he gives us the Mystic Key, a key that can open doors that are locked magically. If you are as nosy as I am, then you might have noticed some doors in Cornelia Castle that could be opened with a mystic key. So, we head to the castle, open some doors, and get some nitro powder. That sounds powerful. What do I do with it? Well, as it turns out, we have to head to Mount Duergar over here, where a dwarf needs that nitro powder. Giving it to him, he blows out some rock and boom! The ocean is now completely free to explore. And now, finally, the real adventure starts. As you've probably noticed by now, I've been skipping over the details of how the plot goes and the whys and hows of where I should be going. Don't worry, I'll go over all of that soon enough. Very soon. With the oceans opened up, we can head to the next town of Melmond. Here, the people of the town have an issue and they need you, the Warriors of Light, to solve it. First, the party must head down through the Terror Cavern in the next dungeon. Once you reach the bottom, you have to fight a spooky vampire. He dies in one hit. You get a ruby, then you head on over to the Titan's Cave, where a big giant man will eat the ruby and go away. After that, you head down to the Sage's Cave, where an old man will give you a rod. Oh my. Now you go back to the Terror Cavern and head all the way back down to the bottom, open up a special room, head a bit more down, and boom, doohickey number 1. Oh my god. The first elemental fiend will stop you from restoring the light to the crystal, but if you made it this far, they aren't too hard. Now, you might ask, why did I just speed through all of that after taking my sweet time going through the last long portion of quests? Well, because it's boring to listen to. It's also boring to play through. Not having a single clue where to go isn't exactly very fun, but whatever. It's probably just me, not the game. Luckily for us, the game follows a pretty convenient formula from now on. Go to town, solve the issues so you can restore light to the crystal, then get out of there. The real big shakeups are when you get the airship and the Mirage Tower. The airship makes sea travel irrelevant and also makes it easy to travel between areas without dealing with random encounters, which is a great way to improve the pacing of the game. The Mirage Tower is actually 2 dungeons in 1, which requires you to not only get an item, but 2 items so you can access the dungeon within the dungeon. Overall, these shakeups really make playing pretty fun and or force you to really try and plan ahead. After restoring the light to all 4 crystals, we find out that a portal opened in the Chaos Shrine, the place where we fought Garland all those hours ago. We head on over and the portal sends the party back 2,000 years in the past. Why? I have no clue! But let's continue anyway. The tone and design of the Chaos Shrine are easily the best in the game. The music has this somber piano accompanied by this strong violin that just really signifies that this is the end of the journey. Other than the fact that this song was used in another dungeon as well. The once dilapidated ruins of the Chaos Shrine are embellished with shiny gold over the walls, with polished white stone running the floors. For the final leg of the journey, it is also the best looking. As the party travels down the Chaos Shrine, we refight powered up versions of the 4 fiends, each one being harder than the last. If you didn't come fully stocked on potions, ethers, and elixirs, then you might find yourself really struggling here. Finally, after 4 refights, we reach the bottom floor of the Chaos Shrine where we find... Garland? As it turns out, as we defeated Garland, the 4 elemental fiends sent him back in time by 2,000 years. Then, Garland sent the 4 fiends back to the present, who would then send him back to the past. Garland during this time could live forever and rule over the past and present simultaneously. Other than the fact that this makes zero fucking sense and shouldn't be possible, the return of Garland is pretty cool. Using the power he gained from being sent back in time, Garland transforms to become the final boss, Chaos. The final boss theme kicks in and you know this is serious. Chaos deals hella damage, has the ability to use tons of spells, including some of your own such as Flare and Kiraja, and he even hastes himself so he can deal more in one hit. What a bitch! It's like he wants to win or something. Even with an upgraded party with some of the best weapons in the game, this fight is a war of attrition, balancing both keeping your party alive and healthy while dealing as much damage as possible. If you weren't using Temper or Haste before, you'll need to use them now. However, as long as you can keep a cool head, keep the heals up, and keep rolling in the damage, you can finally finish this Final Fantasy. By defeating Chaos, the Warriors of Light end the time paradox and save the world. All the while, no one will know of their heroic deeds. But what about me? I remember their deeds. Why do I remember though? Well, because it was fucking boring! Remember all those times I didn't know where to go? Due to not knowing where to go, I would stumble around until I eventually found the right direction for the story, but the side effect was I was constantly stumbling through areas that were way harder than I was supposed to be in. So, what do I have to do to make up for that? Grind. Grind, grind, grind. You may ask, Plandiss, why didn't you just look up where to go? It's an old RPG, you know. That isn't an excuse. I should be able to know where to go just by playing the game. But beyond that, just the fact that this linear quest design exists alongside the non-linear world design is a bit of a problem. Being able to stumble into the wrong part of the quest early, all the while I'm at a lower level, shouldn't happen. But okay, let's assume that I found the right way to go immediately. There are still major issues. Even when the game's story and quest design were working as intended, the game would place an obstacle in front of me that I physically could not beat due to, again, being underleveled. So what do I have to do? I have to grind! With so much grinding, I take back what I said about the battle theme. It sucks. It's a boring generic song that immediately gets grating after the 5th listen. And guess what? You hear it way more than 5 times. Whether it's because I'm grinding for levels, grinding for Gil, or grinding just to get where I need to go, its incessant wailing never stopped. And speaking of Gil, having to grind for spells is stupid. I said it early, but I cannot stress that missing an important spell means you just cannot progress. But spells aren't the only time you will need Gil. You also need to buy all of your equipment and sometimes even story-related items, which means, yup, more grinding. But let's forget about the grinding for a minute. Without that, does the game still have issues? Of course it does! The fact that something as important as the class change is completely missable but still 100% required due to power differences is completely nuts. The design changes are cool, but they don't stop the issue from existing that is a completely necessary thing to get, and yet you can miss it entirely. Without the class change, you can't wield the best weapons in the game or use the best spells, or hell, even the spells that cut out backtracking. Right. Backtracking! That's a huge issue too! The fact that the quest design explicitly forces you to redo entire dungeons simply to go to one new room is absolutely abysmal. Or what about if you accidentally didn't get enough potions or good enough gear? Well, good luck getting out of the dungeon, fucko, you're stuck. This is especially prevalent in the final leg of the game, where most likely you just won't deal enough damage to Chaos because he just full heals himself back to max before smacking your healer with a one-shot, completely taking out any thought-provoking strategy in the fight. So now I have to run all the way back up to the dungeon to get to the exit so I can continue grinding. Because guess what? If I don't grind enough, then Chaos is entirely RNG! I either waste my time dealing with his shitty RNG, hoping and praying for a good run, or I waste my time grinding my levels up and up so I have even a remote chance of fighting him at all. And if you were like me, then this issue extends throughout the whole game. I can get to the boss just fine. Literally 0 mobs can touch me wrong, but as soon as the boss comes up, whoopsies, seems like I'm 20 levels below where I should be. All of this grinding continues to stay monotonous no matter what throughout the entire game because I have 0 motivation to actually play the game. That's right, the story is fucking terrible. The superficial attachment to my party by making it with preset classes and with 8-letter long names is absolutely meaningless. And without that, the only thing I have to care about is the normal story, which again is complete garbage. It is the most bog standard fantasy story I have ever seen because it's just a shitty D&D campaign made into a video game with little to no thought whatsoever. Unfortunately for me, if this was supposed to show me the appeal of turn-based RPGs, it failed tremendously. Each time I started to have a good amount of fun with the combat or the game in general, forced grinding ruined my mood and my day. But I don't want to leave this video on just a negative note. There is still a lot here that was neat and fun, even thinking about everything I said. If done better, the quest would be unique and interesting. With a bit better world design, the ability to miss an important place wouldn't happen. With better balancing, the need for grinding would simply disappear. So, if there is anything really important to take away from this, it's that while I don't think I will ever play Final Fantasy I again, I'm glad it exists, because I know for a fact that the future it brought is filled with experiences that learned and grew from its missteps. I may not know why Final Fantasy is beloved by many, but I at least see and appreciate its humble beginnings. If you found these insane ramblings to be enjoyable to listen to and would like to hear more in the future, then please subscribe, as I would really appreciate it. And if seeing me go insane because of more grinding sounds pleasing, then you can follow me on Twitch to see me play through Final Fantasy II and onward through the coming weeks and months. And if you want to support the creation of this series as well as future video essays, then you can donate to me over on Patreon alongside Nicholas River James Garcia Jones. I hope you enjoyed the mental asylum school trip that I forced myself to go on for this video, and stay tuned for the next.